Before Descent of Dragons launches, I just wanted to share some of the decks that came out of my theory crafting session. I did make almost 70 decks, so I can't promise that they're all good, can't recommend that you spend dust on any of them, can't recommend that any of them are actually optimized, but I figured I'd share them, maybe they spark some inspiration, or maybe a few of them actually end up being pretty good. So starting with Druid, the first thing I did was try to update Quest Druid. Not really much you can do to the deck. I threw in a Ysera Unleashed, but I'm not sure she's one of the better win conditions. From there, I moved on to trying to put dragons in Quest Druid, and surprisingly, I was actually able to fit most of the cards I wanted into the deck. Then I tried a couple of pure dragon builds with varying levels of aggression. I think between the two, I'm slightly leaning toward the more aggressive one. Then I tried dragons in a Highlander shell. Seems okay. I don't really know that building it Highlander is the way to go, though. Then, of course, I had to try to build a dedicated Embiggen deck, and ended up with a lot of mechs. Mechs seem like the way to go because you can mana cheat with Galvanizer, and you can generally build a pretty low curve. But I'm not sure that that's better than just going full token druid with no Embiggen. So I built a pure token druid list. It looks a lot like the token druid decks that currently exist with a Shuma thrown in. And finally I rounded things out with a treant druid, which seems to have gotten some pretty strong cards this expansion, and I actually think it looks pretty solid. Moving on to Hunter, I started by trying to upgrade Quest Hunter, which got actually surprisingly a lot of new cards. Threw in some rush stuff, threw in Shuma as a constant late game threat. Seems not bad. After that, I upgraded Mech Hunter. Nothing too flashy, just added some good new cards. Then I tried a couple builds of Highlander Hunter, one with a secret package, one with a dragon package. I think they look similarly powerful, but between the two, I think I'm leaning toward the dragons. They got some pretty good new cards. I think my favorite of these Hunter decks is actually the Pure Dragon Hunter. Between Corrosive Breath and Stormhammer, that's a lot of stuff that goes face, so I ended up making this deck pretty aggressive. Then I wanted to try a Pure Secret Hunter because of Phase Stalker. Not the flashiest deck, but probably can win some games. And finally I updated a mid-range Hunter by adding in a couple of the new Rush cards. I didn't end up making too many decks for Mage, but I think the ones I did make ended up looking pretty decent. Cyclone Mage is looking really good, got a lot of new tools. Not sure about those elemental allies that I threw in there, but worth trying out, I think. The Pure Dragon Mage looks pretty interesting. The deck is really just carried by Malygos and the Dragon Caster, but they carry pretty hard, so I think the deck looks alright. And then I tried a couple of Highlander builds, one without dragons and one with dragons. Personally, I'm leaning toward the dragons because Malygos and Dragoncaster are insane. But the one without dragons is probably pretty fine as well. Got a few decent upgrades, particularly Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. I made a lot of Paladin decks, but I can't really say that any of them look great. First I tried the no neutrals build, and turns out Paladin cards aren't that great. Probably my favorite of these decks is the aggro mech deck. You get to play Skyclaw, which seems like a very strong card, the new Gobbleglide tech. It's the only deck I could find that actually wanted to play a side quest, the only deck of any class. And then of course it's a good deck to use Faceless Corruptor. Then there's the more traditional mech paladin that does glowstone tech magnetic stuff. Threw in a couple new cards, probably still competitive. Then I tried a couple builds of Highlander, of course, one with dragons and one without. Hard to say which one's better, they're probably both bad if I had to guess. Then I tried a pure dragon deck, and wow, I'm not sure how this deck is supposed to win a game. From there I just upgraded a few older paladin decks. With Quest Paladin, I just threw in a couple Amber Watchers, and I think that was the only change I made. But it's probably a pretty decent change. Murloc Paladin, not much you can do to it, but maybe Tasty Flyfish is just good enough. 2-mana 2/2 Murloc might be okay in that deck. And finally, probably the best Paladin deck of the expansion, Holy Wrath Paladin with no new cards. Except Sathravar, but that's only kind of a new card. So Priest started by updating the aggro combo Priest. Not much you can do to it other than throw in a Mind Flayer. Then I worked on Resurrect Priest. Not much you can do to it other than throw in some Grave Runes and maybe a Murozond. And then I built a Galakron deck. I tried Galakron with dragons and without. I think I prefer without dragons because it doesn't really seem like there's that much of a payoff for playing dragons, and you get to play more just like good removal spells, I think. And then I tried building a pure dragon deck, one with the Inner Fire combo, one without. To be honest, neither of them look that great to me. Not really sure. Like, again, there's just not really that much payoff for playing dragons and priest. And then I built a Highlander dragon deck, sort of the same issue. And finally, I attempted to update a Nomi priest, but I think I actually just ended up putting no new cards in it. Moving on to Rogue, tried a couple variations of a Galakron deck, one with Spirit of the Shark, and one with Gadgetzan Auctioneer. I think both of them have merit. Then I tried building an aggressive Rogue deck, and it got a little out of hand when I ended up putting Magic Carpet in, but pretty good with Bloodsail Flybooter. There's probably some form of aggressive Rogue that's pretty good. From there, I wanted to build a tempo Rogue with the Necrium Apothecary, Necrium Blade package just thrown in. I was looking for a reference, ended up looking at Jay Alexander's build, and decided that his was just better than mine, so went for his list 30 for 30. Then I went for an aggressive dragon deck. The main payoff here is that we get to play an aggro deck with Candle Breath, 3 mana draw 3. And it's also kind of a good meme to Shadow Step your Frizz Kindle Roost. And then kind of a similar thing to the Tempo Death Rattle deck happened with the Quest deck. Started making it and then decided that his build was just better than mine. After that, I started working on this Shuffle Rogue with Stowaways, and again, it got kind of out of hand. We've got the Waxadread and the Shadows of Death. We've got the nice little Death Rattle package with Octazari and Mechanical Whelps. And then I was like, man, that's a lot of card draw in that deck. What if I play Dragon Queen Alexstrasza and Zephrys? Because sometimes you just Octazari on turn 4 with this deck. And then I was like, man, I'm playing some dragons. I guess I'll throw in Candle Breath. And this deck really got out of hand. It's the one that I'm most hoping is good, but is least likely to be good. And then since my shuffle deck really got out of hand, again, I threw in Jay Alexander's Tempo Shuffle deck. It's probably also bad because it's playing Stowaway and Waxadread, but probably has more merit than mine. Moving on to Shaman, which seems like pretty clearly the best class. I have no clue how to build any of these decks because all of them have so many broken cards they can be playing, but I made some attempts. First two Galakron decks, one with an Overload package, one with a Quest package. I really have no clue which is better. And then I tried a pure Quest deck. It didn't really get too many new tools, but Faceless Corruptor's insane. And maybe the Troll Bat Rider? I don't know, I was forcing a battle cry. Other than that, probably just Overload Shaman seems good. I made a Bloodlust build and a Doomhammer build. I think I'm leaning toward the Bloodlust, but they're probably both very good. Maybe not these exact lists, but in concept. Murloc Paladin, or Shaman, that's the class we're on. Murloc Shaman didn't get too much, but it got Storm's Wrath and Faceless Corruptor, both 4 out of 4 stars. And then from there, it's kind of downhill. I tried building some control decks and some dragon decks, but they just ended up being kind of a mess. I'm not really sure how these decks win games, or what the point of playing dragons and shaman is. Just stick to the stuff that can actually kill the opponent. First 6 decks, probably pretty good. Last 3, not so much. Moving on to Warlock, I'm actually pretty interested in playing Galakron Zoo. I think the 1/1s are nice. I think the deck can play a lot of card draw, so you can hit your Galakron pretty often. I like Galakron Zoo. Regular Zoo, though, probably still good. I like the Valdris Felgorge in that deck. Faceless Corruptor is very good. Maybe Blazing Battle Mage is better than the other 1-drops we were previously playing. Highlander Zoo, just some basic upgrades. Faceless Corruptor, Dragon Queen Alexstrasza, Valdris Felgorge, good cards. And then I tried some various handlock builds. One with dragons, one without, and then even a Highlander build. I think dragons are definitely the way to go, because Nether Breath and Crazed Netherwing are pretty insane. Highlander or not sure, probably leaning toward not. But even in the non-Highlander build, I figured this deck draws a lot of cards. Maybe I can just play Dragon Queen Alexstrasza. Maybe even Zephyrs could fit in there. Who knows? And then finally, I wanted to attempt to update a Mechathune deck. I think Depth Charge is probably pretty good in that deck. I mean, it's playing Doomsayers, so it can't hate the Depth Charges. And Dark Skies is a really strong card in there as well. I'm not sure about the cards that I cut. I don't pretend to understand the nuances of a constructed deck unironically playing Voodoo Doctor, but I did my best. Also, not sure if Valdris Felgorge should be a Mechathune Warlock. Seems like it could be clunky, but it's also a pretty insane card draw, so it's hard to say. Finally, we're on to Warrior. Warrior has a lot of options. Started with a Pirate Warrior, insane payoff cards. There's probably some build of this deck that's competitive. But maybe Aggro Warrior is fine without pirates. Got some pretty good new 1-drops. Maybe this Horde Pillager thing works in the Bloodsworn Mercenary list. I think between the two, I'm leaning toward the pirate build. Then I made some very basic upgrades to Bomb and Control Warrior. I just threw in Deathwing. Actually, in the Bomb Warrior, I threw in Horde Pillager for more Wrench Calibers. That could actually be pretty good, I think. And then from there, Dragon Control Warrior seems okay, but I'm not convinced it's better than just regular Control Warrior. Now, Galakron Dragon Warrior, that could be a pretty cool deck. It does compete with the Pirate Warrior and the Aggro Warrior, but it looks like it's got some good stuff going for it. And then from there, we've just got 3 Highlander decks. One of them's got dragons, one of them's also got dragons but is more aggressive, and the final one has a bit of a pirate package with Ankar and Parachute Brigand. It's got a Horde Pillager, Sky Barge. Seems like there's some merit there as well. So that's it for my theory-crafted decks. Just wanted to go ahead and get this out there before the expansion dropped. And hopefully you enjoyed at least one of these decks. At least one.